right at the back, inside the car. Thank you. They just need you to sign in, and you know when I get control.
I don't need to eat that way.
No, we have to. That's all we have to do. And this is technically a board meeting.
It's just
Okay, it's live, so everything we say in there.
oh.
We are recording that live stream. It won't be live like every news, right? But it will be on the website as soon as it's over. So
Okay,
people that
that's
can't
all.
find it, so know. As soon as it's over, John's going to get it on the website. It is live, so people can watch it right as it's happening. Ryan must have been confused. He thought it would be available after, but it's on right now. So, just so you know. So if we have to, if we get more than 50,
I hate wearing masks. I'm gonna go outside. I hate to be, I hate to breathe. I just don't breathe. It's if they find for a few minutes now.
we'll just get in trouble.
Well, I don't, that's it. I need the rules. That's when I'm going outside. I'm just going out to do it on the mask.
And if you're close enough, you can try into our video, bring out your truck, you can probably bring it on our
Wait
website.
here, and then when we go in there, we'll put it up. And it's not, you're the one who's supposed to be sitting there. So it's not that we can do a problem. I'll just come back in, because I want to be able to make sure that we have, like I said,
Well, there's 50 feet, so when
Yeah.
the people are on their,
okay, well, we're on the list.
you're on the list.
Yeah, and when people start on the,
Start at
starts
me.
to do, okay, we'll just wait out.
Well, yeah, you can wait
That,
outside.
I just told you guys that you can do this, I can't breathe. I went down to Colorado and we was swearing. The first story, and the second one, so the one, the last one, I had to get out of school.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, the same mask, and I'm gonna start to plug it out. Every time I took it off, it got worse.
Oh.
Anyway,
I know. Live streaming it, so people will go and run it. So people either can't make it, I know there was some issues on,
Yeah.
I don't know, Facebook, but I heard that people saying, you know, that kind of day or whatever, but we're live streaming it, and they'll be able to watch it right now or later.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And there is lunch and water in the back.
All right. Are we supposed to?
Let me go ask Ryan if he's gonna have y'all sit up front. I know he's gonna have the admin sit up there just so that the public can sit back here.
Okay.
He said we sit back here with the public.
Okay.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Sounds like you got it. Put it up here.
It's on right now, Ryan.
Okay. How you doing, Krista?
Great, how are you?
Glad you're here.
I just happened to work out well. I have to work Saturday, so I took 4 hours off today. Oh, guess I'll work fine.
Good.
Yeah, but I've been busy.
Good mix of positive and negative.
So, I hope so.
Well, this is live in here, so if you want to talk about it,
Do it now?
come to my office.
Do it loudly here.
Oh, I lost my. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Welcome to grab a lunch and a water. And I'm Ryan, by the way.
Jeff,
Nice to meet you, Jeff. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Hey, how are ya?
So you guys want to start out?
Just take over. It's all yours.
We'll just have you come around and let you.
I'm just here to support you.
Start talking.
That sounds great. Thanks.
Grab lunch. Oh, you grab
I
lunch?
haven't even, I laid myself off for a while. Just got enough work for me.
I'm gonna sit up there.
There's no anything.
We'll probably have you come up if you, okay? We'll probably have you come up.
We had enough of it, these three people working, and keep doors open. To hopefully pick it back up.
See, I think we probably, don't know if you told me or not, we are limited to 50. So, I think we
Okay, that's perfect.
grab lunch. I'm Ryan, by the way.
Taking seats.
Nope, I'm just sitting.
Then I will do the same.
I'm just sitting around. Same stuff, different day, really. Mask. I was out by myself for a minute.
I understand. You know what it's like. I don't know. I just wear mine around my neck all the time. So.
I just hate it. I just can't breathe. I wear them all day.
Oh, I
I don't think I
understand.
should complain.
They're a challenge. I would do it.
Well, we can't. We have shorties. My kids have finally gotten one of these little soft ones. They seem to like those better.
How you doing? Good. How are you?
How are you doing?
Yeah, you can pull a chair.
Re-landscaping everything.
I have they're doing horribly by hands. My little one is probably the easiest one of all of them, you know?
Put a French drain in.
Yeah. More and more.
Are we building something or?
No, we're not. Building.
Yeah, we're getting a lot.
Yeah, work for Brett.
A lot of talk, so much I
Where is
haven't
it from?
seen yet. I don't know what is it. But we're doing tons of solutions. That's right.
6 miles.
The old guy one?
Good, yeah, we all.
That's right. I did say mine.
You on the road,
I did mine today. I got my kids to theirs tonight, much to their
or you up to the
dismay.
one main road, 090?
Maybe I'll grab a sandwich. Want a sandwich?
I don't think you.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah? I know. Rob said last week.
How are you? Pretty. How
Was
are
it
you?
worth
Good.
the
Oh, okay. Yeah, grab lunch. Hey, good.
I know.
South County Road 173. Poured out there.
Oh, yeah, usually I do.
5 miles on County Road 171.
Just her track broke, right? Yes. And you are. Devin Short. Your mom's real sorry.
Grab lunch?
Don't look like I need lunch. Great.
That wasn't the question, but you're welcome to have lunch.
Sounds familiar. Why do I know that
You
name?
betcha.
Is your
I would never answer that question.
Oh, okay. Been here forever? Right away, I know her.
Coach about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, lots around there.
I was shaking hands.
I'm not sure about this year. She was doing track.
It's a whole new world. 'Cause I'm just.
Yeah, it's in,
Richard.
yeah, she has played volleyball for a number of years and hasn't done
Different
girls basketball for a year, so
rehabbing and things.
Getting that off non-typical weather, so.
Yeah, Carl.
How you doing, Ryan? Well, okay, today. Wrap lunch.
Lost getting track. Just we get
Let me see.
there.
I've been trying to get it. I've been trying to get it.
Just from where we
Just freshman year, I thought you should try.
I'm lucky to get there alive, I'm sure.
It's not really fond of running.
Single, would I do it?
But you're
That's
so
scary.
much.
That's scary. Regardless.
That's my favorite problem. We want to make sure people get their signal.
So is it a daily trip? Kind of low for
It's timid out there.
You're not having to drive to Louisiana or anything.
If you're it's an interesting thing, you can't watch your TV. Yeah.
You gotta have reason.
Oh, I didn't realize it was quite up there. It wasn't.
Like, you know, I had that car that you will have a washing machine. That's incredible. I call that theft. All one word. I have a few others. Yeah, sometimes even when I don't mean to.
It's always like that. Kids always, half the time, half the kids are just nervous. Now we have my college wage, played varsity and JV this year. So I had varsity, JV, and freshman. So I hit every game. There was only a few that I remember all of them. A couple of great. How are you, sir?
So what do you hear right now? What?
Defensive player of the game a couple times.
I don't know what you're
You like to play acting? So I know about that. I don't take out the questions.
What are you doing tomorrow? You doing good?
Started what? Bow hunting. That doubles the time.
How you doing? Doing great. So we want one of those like close.
There's another, it's still open till Saturday, right?
See how many mutations.
I've never seen it. Now, Coco was actually, Coco has the ski resort. I still have
What's that? I guess relationship, I think it's probably one of the opening parts of Facebook. I think in relationship, all that shit has to be on Facebook. The only is hanging on, whether it's old and active, you should immediately be like, hey, don't be instantaneous. Yeah, remind me not to give too much marital advice. I might not be welcome in the house for a few days after that. I got a lot of comments on it, and then my wife saw it.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Uinta County School District. Appreciate this opportunity. Annually, we do a chamber luncheon, and so we're very appreciative that the chamber allowed us to do this again with all the COVID issues. We're very appreciative. So thank the chamber. What we're going to do is please grab a lunch. We'll give you about 10 minutes, and then we will start on a presentation, and then there'll be a short question and answer, whatever, a long question and answer, whatever the period is in terms of opportunity to ask questions about the district and any other thing that's going on. So, about 10 minutes. Have a good lunch. Grab a lunch.
Yeah, you want this? Good sandwiches. No thanks. Thank you for asking. Well, yeah, that one might not work out.
Do you guys like to travel at all? Like, do you guys ever, when COVID's not going on?
Maybe all of Cali or my coach, everything close. Just one more. Had one person instructor came down with COVID. So it didn't really impact us because it was more than 4 kids. That's the employee getting doing a combination, which we're pretty much all in person. We have every one of our main classes. No, we have the ladies don't Zoom, but we start the boost class, not a single. So things are going okay.
No, I'm glad to hear that.
That is good news. You know, when we send everybody home in Northern, we end up doing some instructions. We found out we're actually taking some of our classes to come in anytime they want to have English. So we're probably going to need a little bit of both from now on. What we're seeing is, because we have our virtual meeting, so we're offering opportunity. And over time, those kids
That's what I want to do, though. I want to
back into the
retire.
and
Sell off.
one of my students,
Maybe I'm with
we've got, one of my kids goes to, don't worry.
I understand. You don't have knowledge. So we've none of us know.
Monday, Tuesday, by Thursday afternoon, I wasn't doing the whole I was working in my office, and I had her in my building. And I stayed in just if anything, only 1% left in 2 years was in. I mean, she was, you know, I had a couple of others that I say, this commissioner, it's phenomenal.
So they've been everywhere.
Show me what to do on this.
In fact, I think the principal is right now, you know, it's doing how great this community is.
Some of them just aren't coming. 20 more years. I don't care anymore, like, by the time I get that age.
Survival.
That's why I can't do the personal work, personal. I appreciate you being
Last 4 or 5 years, I was not going to the open.
My wife on Mother's Day.
I get that all the time. I get it, and they, like, some people, they just make
I need to everybody across the brand and go to the west. And we do a project on our street, and state fire marshal, and won't let you do that.
Right.
And he gave, this is what he did. Greg said, he had some thoughts. I told him, I'll tell you what. I'm in a situation, I had myself in the kids, I'm going to, he said, our doors, I don't remember how it was, but I was talking about giving it a hook, slant, base, just, you know, just look it up, and move that door, it's not fire marshal.
See, that's the big deal, is that that's the fire marshal just
I'm a nurse practitioner, so I see patients in the hospital now. I used to do
And his state,
interesting.
just the state board. Where the door lock, when you got to the door and it's locked, if they reach that door, they just cut it. Now there is, this is.
Yeah, I did, I told you.
The master, so there was, I'm typically the next person. That person's being
I have put the standards, he was going across it, so. Yeah, now.
one door, I always was the issue. So that was one of the stuff.
the original.
Everything's awesome. Good. So we're gonna go to this, come on, let's get
A lot of foot off, so they had to come back in and they had to, instead of asphalt. That asphalt overlay, clog over. So you get a lot of that issue now.
Yeah, the one that's just not enough support or something. And then to go in there and take a look at the shoe, probably have to go through. Oh, I understand.
Kelly Gill.
I've not been scared to death, I trust you completely.
Oh, well, it was,
Yeah.
so one thing that's interesting is live mode. So if you go over the bridge, and then you start changing it to the railroad track, so if you have monitoring on the bridge down there, that bridge is also.
Hi, Wendy, how are you?
Okay.
It's really great to see you again.
But so all that movement.
Well, I'm going to get started. Hopefully everyone that wants lunch has grabbed a lunch. Again, thank you very much for coming today to this open house. I would like to introduce Jamie Bracken, Chairman of the School Board, Krista Barker, Trustee, David Peterson, Trustee, and Kay Fackrell, Trustee. Appreciate their willingness to be here today. For those who don't know, I'm Ryan Thomas, Superintendent of Schools. Appreciate this opportunity. Every year when we meet with the Chamber, the first thing we talk about is our district board goals, expectations. So I'm going to take a few minutes and talk about that. We're very, I think, fortunate to be where we are right now in Uintah County School District number 1. And where we are is face-to-face instruction with 2,700 students being taught by qualified teachers in the classroom every day. We see the benefits to that. We see the benefits not only academically, but dealing with social emotional. We've overcome, I would say, for the most part, this idea of a mask requirement, physical distancing, and washing our hands, and we've become actually pretty good at that in terms of our students. It's important to us that we maintain those expectations so we can stay in school. You've all probably seen that recently in our community there has been a spike. Just to let you know where we are with school, we are truly a reflection of the community. So if there's a spike in the community, there's a spike in schools. Because of the precautions that we're required to take, there has been no community spread in schools. That's probably the best news. But again, we've had kids that have come to school that have ended up testing positive. We go through the contact tracing requirements. We've had staff members that have tested positive. We have quarantined a number of students and quarantined a number of staff based on the contact tracing, and yet we still have not had any spread in the schools. The biggest challenge we have, of course, is families. And we're a family institution, but it's the families and their children who bring COVID in. Again, because of what we've done, hopefully it's taken care of at least some of the concerns, and then we'll continue to have school. You've probably already heard in many states, especially those close to us, they have gone in and out of in-person instruction based on numbers of cases in schools. When we developed our reopening plan, we were pretty upfront in terms of on a daily basis, we have about 10% of our student population that is out due to some kind of illness. So 10% of our population is roughly 270 students. If we get to that point, we begin having discussions about what we do and how we do it in terms of having school. 270 kids, we're not even close to that. When you've heard these large school districts with 3,000 kids in one school that have actually gone to online because they had 5 kids that had tested positive in their school. I appreciate that our public health has been willing to work with us in that. In February last year, second week of February, before all this craziness started, we had about 400 kids out sick. Most of them, it was due to the flu, some kind of colds. that's a lot of kids. And we started having concerns and started having discussions. We did some things internally. We communicated with our parents and families. We took some precautions, and we ended up to continue school, at least for another month, until it was all closed. But again, that's really how we operate. We look at this on a day-to-day basis, and we'll make decisions based on those numbers. We're here, our number one priority is the safety of our students and our staff, and we are dead serious about that. So what you see in front of you and on the screens is our vision. And again, I'm proud of this vision. I've been a part of this district for 35 years, and I'm proud of what we are trying to accomplish. Our vision is to provide the highest quality of education for all students. There's a lot in terms of education, but probably the most important word in there is all. We try to do what is best for all students. Right now, it's about 2650. We're losing students, but the high and the boom was around 36. And now we're at 26.5. So our community has suffered a loss, decline in enrollments. 5 of the last 6 years, we've had declining enrollments in this community. So a challenge that we faced. I was high school principal in 2000. At that time, we had 1,200 and about 35 kids at the high school. Right now, we have just under 800 kids at the high school. So from 2000 until now, we've seen a really consistent decrease. Again, we're a reflection of our community, and those of you that are business owners have probably felt a pinch of that also. Our mission is what we do every day. Our mission is to provide relevant, challenging instruction. We set high expectations for students, focusing on experiences that build positive relationships, collaboration, persistence, and encourage maximum student effort. Again, that's what we try to do every day in every classroom. And I think we do it quite well. We're proud of our staff. They work hard. We're proud of our students. I've been to a lot of communities in our nation, and we have something special, and it's our students. And we are able to recruit a very talented staff, and hopefully we can maintain that talented staff. What I wanted to share just quickly is the board goals. Every year we develop this Pathway to Excellence, which is our strategic plan, and these are the goals that we set jointly with the board. You can see the number one goal, as I said before, is safety and security. Our goal at the beginning of this year was different than it's ever been before, because at the time we put these goals together, we were closed. So our goal was to open schools and to keep schools open for the 2021 school year by implementing the district's reopening plan. There's parts of the plan that is not well liked by some individuals. But again, it's that plan that allows us to open, and hopefully it's that plan that allows us to continue. The plan will probably be modified in December because of the changes that have happened in our community. Unfortunately, the health plans, the governor's health plans have not changed. Potentially it may get more restrictive, but we need to update our plans because it's no longer a reopening plan, it is now a continuation plan. So we'll bring that back to the board. Pathway to Excellence deals with a high reliability school framework. We've been working hard to become high reliability schools, which simply means that we, I guess in the simplest form, is that we can be trusted with your children. We think that's very important. We've worked on a communication plan for probably the last 4 years, and we're getting better. Communication is still the most challenging thing an organization of our size does, with its internal members and the external members. If you think about it, 2,700 students represents a great deal of families, and this is their kids. They want to know what's happening. So we do our best with communication, and we're getting better. The fourth bullet deals with our desire to be high reliability schools and actually being certified as effective teaching in every classroom by May 2021. This is an outside organization that comes in and studies our school districts to determine if we're meeting expectations of a school that has effective teaching in the classroom. It is a very challenging goal, it is a reach goal, but that is our goal. And then maybe the most important bullet, is the bottom bullet, a focus on life skills, citizenship, positive behavior support, anti-bullying, healthy living, accountability for students, parents, and staff. As I mentioned before, we're very fortunate that every day we have kids and staff that come to work. That is truly one of the best ways that we can help their social emotional welfare outside of the educational part of this. And it's critical that we continue with our kids in schools. The impact of COVID is significant for all of us and different for all of us, significant in our community, different for every community, but the impact of kids, we don't really know yet. So our goal is to make sure that we continue to have those kids in school. The district goals are developed by our administrative team and the staff in our buildings. So the board directs the schools, their principals, their leaders, put a plan together to meet the goals that the board has set. And we do this annually, usually in July. We approve it, usually in September or October, depending on timelines. And it's really our marching orders. Now, aside from that, every once in a while, there are additional things that we focus on. We've been asked to look at some things specifically, and one of those things is probably why most of you are here, is the Fieldhouse. So what I'm going to do is run through just a quick PowerPoint, and then have Mr. Fackrell talk a little bit more about the why our board went after this and pursued this. And again, I appreciate Mr. Fackrell has been on most of my outings to any group that's willing to listen to us. We've gone to, I think it's about a dozen now, and he's come to most of those. So give me a second and I'll put a PowerPoint on. This is a concept drawing of the Fieldhouse. You've probably seen it around. So let me kind of go back to the beginning. I guess Kay will probably go back to more of the beginning than I will, but let's just talk about recent beginning. We were asked to do a study on the ability to develop a field house and turf fields. The reason for that, there are 3 reasons. Number 1 is indoor track. We have an indoor track team that does not have a facility to practice or compete. Indoor track is becoming one of the most popular sports for our students. It is a co-ed sport. It starts, does it start in November, Bubba? January. And it runs till April? March. Where we compete is really any place that will take us. So in the past, we've competed in Utah, Idaho, and of course the facilities in our state that have indoor track facilities. And there are quite a few that have them. So we have a sport that does not have a place to practice or participate. Second reason is soccer. We've had soccer for over 20 years, and still we do not have a dedicated regulation soccer field in our community. And we wanted to rectify that. You look at soccer, soccer has some other challenges due to when we have soccer in the spring and when we have access to our grass fields. Again, some of you are soccer or were soccer players and know that we typically do not get to practice on grass until after our first competition in the state. We may be, and this is, I think, correct, we may be the only school district that can't get on grass because the snow doesn't melt before they have a competition. It depends on a year, but typically we just don't get on grass. So that's the second reason. The third reason is kind of linked to that, is due to our climate. We need a multi-purpose facility that can be used during inclement weather. That facility would need to be flexible enough to have a court-type surface and a grass-type surface. Once you get into that, you get into a little more expense. But that's the commitment, to have a multi-purpose facility. This multi-purpose facility in discussions is pretty clear. It's to help every event, every activity that we have in our school, including our academics. and provide opportunities that we cannot provide right now. And so because of those three reasons, we did a study. And we did what you would call it, a search for an architectural firm. We selected an architectural firm. They did a study. The study was presented to the board and the community. The study opened our eyes about a few things. Number one is the cost of these facilities. When they looked at all the things that we really, really wanted, maybe not needed, the price was over $34 million for that facility. Just to get to what we wanted at the time, needed, I should say, what we needed, it was about $25 million. And of course, if you're familiar, because of our assessed valuation in our county, we only can bond for $22.7 million. We can't bond for any more than that. And that's at the present, I guess, the assessment that happened in July. Current assessment may change the value of that. We don't know yet. As I can recall, I've been in the community for 35 years. That may be the lowest our assessed valuation has been. We understand that too. So $22 million was the cap. So in this study, the first question that we asked is, how do you get the clicker to go? There it is. The first question we ask is, where do we do this? And save money, really. And so the basis of that is we need to do it on our own facilities. We had multiple locations that you could build a facility of this size, but the study came up with really 5 locations at the high school. It makes sense to be at the high school. We could spend a lot of time on why it makes sense, but the facility ended up in this lower portion, which is the practice field right now, so football and soccer practice field. That's where this facility would be. This shows you a concept drawing, and just a quick caveat, remember this is just concepts. We have not gone to the step of having an architect design this, because we can't do that without money. We really haven't gone into all the details of what this facility would be, because it's a concept. And that's what we asked for this study to do, is show us a concept, if it could even be done. So conceptual, this is what the study came up with. You can see, I'm afraid if I leave, they won't hear me, but you can see the brown structure is the Fieldhouse. To the left is a artificial turf regulation soccer field, and around it, from what you can tell, is actually parking for those 2 facilities. And also there would have to be some work done on the football field. And so all of that was looked at, and I'll get into why we had to do some work on the football field. So what we had to look at is really the estimates that were given in this study and come to something that's realistic. This is probably the keystone to what the indoor facility will have. This is a 200-meter regulation indoor track. It has 6 lanes on the oval, 8 lanes in the straight. Roughly, you can pinch that, you can stretch it, but to have a regulation soccer field, that is the size that you need. That represents a structure of about 75,000 square feet. The cost of this facility isn't in the length. It's actually in the width. To get a free span, that steel is pretty expensive. This concept shows 3 basketball courts. It could have been 3 volleyball courts. It could have been 14 wrestling mats. Again, that court surface is really what you're looking at. The track surface is a different type of surface. It has to be spongier. I actually have samples in my car. Maybe I'll go out and get them if someone wants to see them. But a potential court surface. You can see on the sides there is space. Just because of the nature of the facility, there's going to be space on the sides. Probably not as much on the width. But this concept also shows a mezzanine. So the mezzanine is elevated 15 feet above the surface. It's roughly 15 feet out. We see that's essential for some of the things that we need to accomplish. Probably number 1 is space for spectators and participants. Also, one of the most popular things about the high school is the walking surface. The most popular thing about the rec center may be the walking surface. And this potentially produces some other opportunities for the community and individuals to walk in this facility. So with that, The multi-purpose nature of this facility is there would have to be the ability to either have turf covered by court or court covered by turf. We really haven't got into that yet. That will be in the design phase. But for $12 million for this size, 75,000 square feet, we believe we can pull that off. So these are the costs. And by the way, these are the same slides that I've showed probably in July. They haven't changed. The Fieldhouse is 75,000 square feet, estimated about $12 million. Outdoor field development, which includes a turf field and any necessary updates to the high school football field. The reason why you have updates to the football field is part of this facility takes a throwing area away. It's discus, right? And potentially even the shot put. We have to find another place for those on that facility. And so it would have to be reconcept. There is no way that $4 million will provide a turf soccer field and a turf football field. So this $4 million is for a turf soccer field and any kind of improvements necessary to get all the activities in at the high school sports. A 3% maintenance reserved, we felt that was prudent. I've had experience with these facilities where they couldn't maintain them after a period of time. So that's built in terms of our maintenance. Utilities is part of the school district and is part of our year-to-year expenses. So that won't hurt us. But to maintain this, we believe this will maintain it on its own, standalone, for about 10 years. That will allow us to get our feet underneath us and to do what we needed to do to maintain it in the future. Hopefully, if it's built correctly, the maintenance costs will be low. Non-construction costs, the design, civil design fees, FF&E, specialty consultant general allowance is roughly $6 million. I took those figures right out of the study. Everyone tells me that's high. I hope it's high. Because if you're talking about a facility like this, there is a lot of equipment. So we're not going to build a facility and not have equipment for them. The bond requested is $22.7 million. That's what it adds up to. The cost to a homeowner, estimated at a $200,000 house, is $9.82 per month, or just under $120 a year. We haven't pulled the punches. That we understand this is expensive. There's no doubt that for anyone that has a home under $200,000 or above $200,000, it's expensive. We had a discussion from the beginning about our ranchers and farmers. It does impact them at the same rate as residential. As I understand it, I don't know if I understand it well, they're assessed on how their property is used. This also establishes a different assessment for industry and a third assessment for oil and gas. They're assessed at different levels. Because basically we believe this is a residential issue, that's where our students come from, that's why we put this figure. We didn't hide anything from anyone, if you've heard that. This is not the case. $22 million, $22.7 million over 20 years is our debt. Bonded indebtedness is about $1.4 million a year. Spread across every resident, every industry, and every oil and gas company in this area. Is that a lot? Yeah, most definitely. We never said it wasn't. But again, before I go on, I'm just going to do one more thing, and then I'm going to have Mr. Fackrell talk to us. The economic impact. This was added later. If you look at our study, the study wasn't to determine the economic impact to our community. The study has one page on economic impact. The challenge is we don't have a facility like this. We never have. Probably unsure how much the impact will be. That will be dependent upon us, the school district, the community, the city, and the county, how it's used. I know how the school district will use it, and we'll use it all the time because of the nature of the multi-purpose facility. You can just show you what the impact was by the study. Is roughly $30 to $50 per person for everyone that comes from another school district to our district for an event. So that's a one-day event, $30 to $50. I can guarantee when I was coaching middle school, every one of those kids had a $20 bill and used it before they left wherever we were at. And that was quite a few years ago. It's $120 to $200 for a family of 4 for a one-day event in our community. The economic impact is truly staggering if we could really, really look at how much these events are. We have Region on Thursday, tonight, 4 schools, so 3 besides us. We have Region on Saturday, 3 schools, hopefully with us. There's a 11-team, is it basketball? Middle school basketball on Saturday, 11 teams. That will have a significant impact, and that is 1 week in our district. When you talk about multiple events, multiple day events, it basically doubles. So a 2-day event is $60 to $100, $240 to $400 for a family of 4. I chased my kids around this state for 12 years. So I know that that's probably a little light, because that's what you spend when you watch your kids. This facility was not put together truly looking at economic impact, but we can tell you it will impact this community drastically. What we're talking about is an opportunity to have events that we've never had before. We have the EI. Some of you are probably aware, Evanston Invitational Wrestling Tournament. At one time, there were 25 teams that came to that. It's pretty amazing that we can pull off 25 teams. Right now, we have 14. This facility holds 14 mats. Right now, we put 6 mats in the gym at the high school. Significant impact for a multi-day event. When I shared this with the staff, the drama teacher came up to me and said, finally we could have state drama. That's 900 kids for 3 days. And the impact of this community. Now that is just school events. So look at volleyball, basketball, I'm going to miss some. Volleyball, basketball, football, wrestling, indoor track, outdoor track, soccer, boys and girls. We're talking multi-events, multi-day events, a significant impact. So that's the balance of this. It is expensive, but we see it as an investment in our kids for the next 50 years, and it's also an investment in this community. Now, I've kind of been criticized, I guess, that we haven't got involved in the city and the county's work with trying to find a facility like this. And anyone that knows that that's not true. I've been involved in every committee, every discussion about having a multi-purpose facility in this community and the challenges associated with it. The last one was started by us. And what it progressed to was something that would be way more than $22.7 million. And I'm not being critical of any group that wants to come in and say we need a facility too, but it just can't be everything for all people. The expense is too much. Once it got to the point, this last committee group, and it started with just a few of us and ended up with about 30 people, I think, that showed up, city and county individuals. It just got to the point where it was out of our hands. Bottom line, that was it. School district was kind of pushed to the side. They were going to go after a 1-cent tax. The challenge with the 1-cent tax, and you guys know it, that's a county tax. Schools bond for additional facilities. They don't go off county taxes because the bond only affects those in our district. Doesn't affect Lyman, Mountain View, or any of the outside areas. Again, that's really the reason for this facility. Our needs based on what we can do. All we can do is what we can do for the school district at this point. I've also been criticized that this is not a community facility. That is also not true. I would challenge any of you to find a community, city of Evanston, or a county individual that has been denied access to our facilities. We don't deny them. We work with them. The rec center uses our facilities constantly, especially through November through May because of inclement weather. We have a great relationship with the city. The county, we've never denied them anything. You probably aware of the DARE concerts. We work with them. We actually waive the fees. And we have a DARE concert typically annually, thanks to COVID. The challenges that we have is we're a public entity. We are responsible for public funds. We have to secure those funds. Our facilities cost money. We just can't give them away for free. So organizations that are for-profit, our board decided about 4 years ago, we cannot allow for-profit organizations in our facilities. The reason for that wasn't to deny access. The reason for that was because we use our facilities 185 days of the school year constantly. There's no place for that. This facility would require us to go back through and look at our facility use request. Because what we would want is the outside to come in and use this facility for community gain. It would be simple to change those policies. So this facility is for our kids. Anything that's for our kids is truly for our community. You can't separate the two. So with that, Mr. Fackrell, would you like to add?
Well,
Come up here.
I think you covered about everything, Superintendent Thomas. I guess the big thing that I would say is this is not a new idea. I came back to Evanston in 1980, teacher, coach, and everything, and the boom was on. We were already talking about what facilities were going to change and everything, and we bonded for the high school in about 83, and that was, to our knowledge, that's the last bond that we had. Most of our school buildings, though, were built by our community through a bond, because this happened before the State Facilities Commission took over what they do. And in 1980, when they started planning all this stuff, and 85 when we went into the high school, and if you've been up around the field, you see it as what they called then dome compatible. And supposedly there was money enough in cash reserve to do that. The state changed the way funds came to the school districts. So we went from a fairly wealthy school district back to one of the poorest school districts. So it's kind of got left up to us again to see what we could do. So that dream never became a reality. But every year, I swear, every year, it's been talked about. And I've been on a dozen committees that have talked about this. And as soon as we involve a larger group, I mean, we went from, it has to have ice in it. It has to have dirt in it. We have to have dirt bike races. We have to have, it gets such a big diluted discussion that you wonder who in the heck is going to use it, you know. And as a school board member and as an athletic director that I was for 13 years here, every spring we get questions about what are we going to do about soccer? What are we going to do about indoor track? What are we going to do about outdoor track when the weather's bad? Marching band now has become a big thing. You know, if you go by a field to see them out there at 6:30 at night in the blizzard, rehearsing that, you know, this is another use for a facility to be controlled kind of by the school. As the board started talking about this, I really respect what happened because we just decided, let's go for it. And put it out there, let's see how the community feels about it. As Mr. Thomas mentioned, there's no other, this is all concept design. You know, we didn't form committees and there's no big plan on this whole thing because we have to wait and see how the community feels about it. But it'll answer our questions as a board. Do we really want to do this? The community will support this. I want this for several reasons. My kids will never see it. My grandkids will never see it. But I care about our community for one thing. I lived here most of my life. My mother graduated in 1940. Well, they didn't really matter. And I remember when she went to her 50th or 40th class reunion, I thought, my hell, that's old. Now I've already had my 50th. You know, so I've been here forever. I've watched our community. We're struggling right now. And I've seen our community when it's been up. And the difference between what's happening then and what's happening now. We need something to bring people back into our town. And we need something for our kids. I also travel a lot during the job that I had. I could see what other communities had as far as the facilities and the use that they had for kids. It's primarily for kids again, you know, and what that did, you know, for their communities. Motels are full, restaurants are busy, more restaurants, you know, stores are busy. I want to see that. I want to see our kids that be on equal footing. He was always referred to it as a level playing field as far as everybody else. It's sort of embarrassing to send teams out when they haven't had a place to practice yet. You know, kind of what's going on now, I guess, in the college and NFL ranks with the COVID. But our spring sports have been that way forever. And so I really kind of admire and respect the board stepping forward and trying to do this, because it's the first bold attempt that's been made. We always have hit a brick wall every time we've ever talked about this before. And now we're just putting it to the voters. When Mr. Thomas and I have been traveling around, of course we would like to encourage support, but it's basically been to give facts about this, because we're trying to kill the rumors that we've already voted and it's planned and we're borrowing money and you know how our community is with that. And so we've basically been an attempt to try to diminish that and let people make their decision off what they know about the facts about this proposal for a field house. And I guess we'll see what happens in a few days with that.
So with that, really to finish the story, that's exactly in terms of our board. It's time that the community respond to this. As a school district, we face, I think, a lot of praise, positive comments, and we face negative comments. One of the things that I've heard for the last 15 years is that we do nothing for our students in terms of soccer, track, and really those inclement weather areas, because our community does go to another community and see their facilities, and we are behind. It's time that the voters decide. Do we go ahead with this or do we not? We've heard criticism, it's a horrible time. Well, I was recruited in 1986 to this district. They were going to dome the football field. I was told that. Ended up not being a very good time. When is a good time? 20 years from now? We figure just soccer, Bubba, let me know if I'm wrong with this, soccer and track. That's not counting indoor track. There's roughly 450 kids a year that would benefit from this complex. Multiply that by 50 years, you can see the impact it will have for our students. Add in all the other times we could use this facility with our kids, it's staggering how much this will be used. Again, I think just to express appreciation to the board, we knew that this would be challenging. We took it on anyway. We'll let the voters decide. I think, and again, this is my opinion, we have been very good stewards of public funds. If you look at our facilities, they're immaculate. No one would believe that the high school was built in 1985. We have taken care of public funds and used them well. We agonize over the use after hours because we have employees that have lives too. And we have to charge overtime if overtime is necessary. So we've never really turned anyone away. We're not for profit, representing our community and our county. So with that, questions? Yeah, in the back.
So, I was just curious, you said that, obviously that benefits that could come from all these people coming in to see their kids and everything. But wouldn't it also be true that if you spent these $22 million, that the construction of that, all the local, some of the local construction companies and things like that would also gain financially from the building of that. And then play off of that, even if you outsource some. I have families who, my daughter works for a medical company, and they work shutdowns all the time. And when you work a shutdown, guys are coming into your town, spending tons of money, going to your bars, going to your restaurants. So wouldn't that also be a pretty significant economic gain in and of itself, just the construction of this?
Yeah, and the comment was, even the construction of this, would that not support our community? The construction will be about 18 months. So for 18 months, you would see an increase in the community. The challenge, and we've faced it with every building we've built, is to find a local contractor that can bond for that amount. But those individuals come to our community and spend money in our community. Our local contractors that can benefit are not necessarily the major contractor, they're the subcontractors that can bond for pieces of the facility. $22 million would be spent in our community, mostly. Good news to that, just to add, is when you talk about timing, large companies that build these projects are right now out of work. I've been approached by at least 3 that are interested in getting involved in this. So in other words, instead of getting one contractor to bond for our middle school, we'll get multiple contractors. We understand that some of the materials may be higher now, but I think that will be offset by the costs, the competition involved in bringing contractors in. The process takes 18 months. We go through a process. The community will be involved in that. So the final outcome of this facility may look much different than this concept drawing. I know it will include spectators. It has to. I saw another hand, yeah.
Yeah, if the bond is 22.7 and the concept you guys are looking at is 25 million, where's the other 3 million coming from?
Well, what we did is we cut back from that $20 million one. The $20 million one had a turf field at the football field. That's been removed. That's about $1.2 million. Any of the other enhancements, we've taken away. The size itself, we went from 110,000 square foot facility in the $34 million one to what will hold a 200 meter track is the 75,000. So the size of the facility and just one turf field for soccer. That's where we save that additional money.
So that turf field for soccer is going to be on the south end of the building?
Yes.
Okay. And I saw somewhere there's two pipelines, liquid pipelines in the corner that run through there.
Yes.
I don't know where they stand on this, but I used to work before I retired. They're not going to relinquish their easement either. And if they run a smart tool, an internal inspection tool through there, and the wall loss is significant, PHMSA, which is the Pipeline Hazardous Material and Safety Administration, was the government entity that audits pipelines. They will require them to reduce the volume, reduce the pressure until they get it fixed. So they're going to be on it ASAP. And if that pipeline is under that ball field, depending on how you guys sign off on it, they're going to take that field up.
We have had that discussion. So what we're talking about here is, if you look, currently our practice field sits right here. And so this goes into the property. We have 8.5 acres just off Bodine. And through that 8.5 acres is a high pressure line. Many people don't know that. This high pressure line hits the corner of our property. This is our property here, and skates this way. The field is not on or over the line. Even if it was, green spaces can be over the line. No facilities, no structures can be over that pipeline. It cuts down. Here is the parking lot. It cuts down through here, just outside of Horizon. Splits, I believe it's, there's a business here. Here's Horizon, and it goes right through that parking lot. High pressure gas line. It's been there probably before some of us were born.
I thought there were 2 liquid lines up there too.
The same location, as I understand it. We had to get a variance when the Cento building went to Horizon. So that's when we learned about that. 8.5 acres, that's this way, is district property. Like I said, there's not a lot you can do with it because of the pipeline, but you can put fields in. We wouldn't want to put a turf field over something that would have to be torn up. You're correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, I saw you had $9.82 for a $200,000 home. And some of us own homes that are significantly more than that. And what's the gradient increase based on home value?
It doesn't go up the more expensive your home is in terms of the percentage. The percentage stays the same. And this print is way too small. It's 9.5%.
How much?
9.5% of your actual assessed valuation.
Is that per thousand? Oh, per assessed valuation?
Yeah, per assessed valuation. So for a $200,000 house is 9 82 for a $400,000 house is 1968. So it's just double. So if your house doubles, that's why we did it in increments of 100,000.
Okay. Oh, okay. That nailed it right there.
Yep. The board had a decision to make. Do we go for 15, 20, 25? Our district has roughly had bonds out for 20 years. The last bond we had out, we paid off early. I think that would still be the commitment. And I saw a hand back there. Yeah.
I wondered, what, according to this plan that you currently have, what is the spectator capacity? If you don't have enough room for, the spectators, you're not going to be able to, have many events.
Yeah, if you've ever been to, for example, Turf Wars in Laramie, there are no spectator seatings. Where they stand is along the field. So that's why we think this mezzanine is critical. So mezzanine, again, is 15 feet above the surface, 15 feet wide, and circles the entire complex. That's where our spectators and participants would have to go. We have a drawing, again.
I was going to say there's a concept.
Yeah, the concept, and you can probably not see this one, maybe you can on your televisions. Here is the mezzanine that goes around the facility. Here are temporary seating for depending on what event is there. So you wouldn't have the same seating for a soccer game in there. And by the way, it's not a regulation soccer field inside this. No way we could afford that. But it is relatively large. It would be turf. The difference you would have is each event would have to be different. That's why we didn't go into spectator capacity. If you're using it for, well, this would be soccer, you'd have different locations for your spectators. If you used it for indoor track, you couldn't use these because they sit on the track, so you'd have to go up above. Those are things we'd have to work out in the actual design of this with community input and our staff input. Those questions weren't answered in this concept study, but you can see that even the concepts take into effect that. See if I can do that. Any other questions? Yeah, Mr. Ward.
Mr. Thomas? The question I have, you said that this bond is the max we can do.
Yes.
This is all hypothetical right now, but we're talking about the cost. The problem I've seen, I don't know of any government facility that's been built that's ever stayed under budget. So what is the plan, if in fact when you actually start putting the actual pencil to the paper and come up with that, what are you going to do if it comes back that it's not 22, that it's 32? Because if we can't bond for any more, now what do you do if you've collected the bond, or you've started the bond, yet you don't have the ability to complete the project?
That's a great question. The question for anyone that's online is what happens if we go over budget, and what happens if we can't build this for $22.7 million? When you talk about what organizations have to stay in budgets, school districts. I've been directly involved in the construction of 2.5 buildings in this district, and they were miserable to get built when we stayed within budget. Under budget, Clark, Horizon, and Evanston Middle School. The unfortunate part of that is I think our community was shorted in that process. And we did everything we could not to be shorted, but again, when the state pays for the facility, they determine that. Clark is a perfect example. Those of you that went to Old Clark, it was a 3-section school. In other words, it had 3 sections of every grade. Our new Clark is 2 sections of every grade, and thousands of square feet smaller. We didn't ask to get it built. If you remember, all those years ago, it was determined to be seismically unsafe by the state and condemned. We had to build it. They wouldn't pay any money for us to purchase property for that building. That's why it sits where it does. Even Harrison Park, which I think is next to it, is deeded for only a park. We couldn't use that. So we were stuck if we wanted to have school. That was the half one I was involved in. I came in and I wish I'd have been there from the start. But anyway, if you've been in Clark, it is a beautiful facility inside. It's just too dang small. We needed what we had before. And we see the pinch in our 3 other elementaries right now. So we don't have a choice. If we have $22.7 million, we would have to be under 22.7 million. And I say under. We would have to either, I don't think we could shrink the size, but the expense is truly the surfaces. You could go full out and have a hardwood court, which there's no way we can afford, to a rubberized surface, which we hopefully can afford more than that, to something in between. The turf, there is so many different varieties of turf. Do you roll it out? Do you have it checkerboard? Those questions haven't been answered. All we did in this study is, can we build 75,000 square feet, a turf soccer field, whatever we need to do to have outdoor track at the current football field, and then pay for all the fees. That's 22.7 million. That's where we came up with that figure. When we found out that was our assessed valuation, put pencil to paper, went through the report, and we can do it for 22.7. It may change by the time we get to the point, and so we may have to make differences. We can't bond for more. I don't think we would go back to the voters. We just wouldn't. We'd have to make some decisions. I understand that if you don't go through with it, the taxes would revert back. And we just made that decision not to do it if we couldn't. I'd hate to see that happen after all of this. Again, I think we've been wise stewards of public funds, and it's not one person involved. It is truly a committee. You have 9 elected officials that make these decisions. I don't do anything without talking to them first. I do a few things. Yeah.
Yeah, just say hypothetically, Tuesday rolls around, votes counted, and Wednesday this passes. So from the time you get the notification that it passes, what's the timeline? Start construction and break the champagne bottle?
That's a very question. The question is, if this bond passes, when do we get started? When do we get the money? As I understand it, we get the money within 60 days. So how we would begin, and this is the process we really haven't talked too much about, is it would be a process. The first thing we would do is, as a committee, select an architect. So we'd use members of the community, students, staff, administration. We'd select an architect. They would come in, present their case. We had, was it 5 architects that came in for this? 3?
No, we had 3 that we finalized.
3 that we finalized. We finalized to 3. Each of them had an expert on these type of facilities. That's really what we look for, is who has the most expertise in this kind of facility and in a turf field in our climate. Turf, they say, is 15 degrees warmer. It can be shoveled off as compared to shoveling off a grass field. So that's, again, the need for a artificial turf. So the selection of design process would probably take 30 days. After that process, another 30 days to do the same thing with the contractor, with help of our new architect that would be selected and the committee. Once that goes out, we hope to bid this out in late, probably July or August of 2021. 18 months of construction. We're hoping that kids for 2023, is that right? January 2023 could use this facility. So that's fast. What will happen in our community between now and 2023? I don't know. I just hope our assessed valuation doesn't get less. Hope it goes up. Something has to turn. We have fantastic schools. I think we're probably one of the best kept secrets in the state and the nation, if you look at our scores. So, yeah.
Ryan, you touched on one of the problems that I think exists. I know I've talked with the county assessor, and she said last year we had 101 million. This year we were 78 million. With COVID and the impacts that it's had, it all affects next year's tax. And I really think that we've seen it go from 101 to 78. COVID's been such a dead year for business. I think that we are going to see it go down, which to me, it's a little bit of a concern. There's been a lot of talk that it's only about $10 for a $200,000 home.
the reality is that number goes down as far as the county assessed value, that number's gonna go up.
Yes.
And, you know, I've heard the number tossed around, it's $1,000. I don't think that's accurate.
It's not.
But I will tell you this, I think it's just as accurate as the $10 number that's been thrown around.
Well,
We really don't know what that's gonna be, and that's the one thing that concerns me is, you know, I don't know that we really know what that increase is gonna equate to, and I've already had people tell me that they can't afford the $10, and,
We understand that.
you know, and so that is one of the concerns I've heard, and, you know, I wanna make sure it's clear, because one of the things that's kinda, I've had a lot of people say that, you know, if you're not for this, you're against the kids. And I think it's important for the school district to understand, a vote against this isn't a vote against the kids. There's a lot of things that are at play right now. And you know, there's a good likelihood I'm gonna be down at the legislature. And I look at the taxes that I can already see coming. I'm only one vote, and I don't know that we can stop all the taxes that are coming. And so that's one of the criticisms that I've heard that I think is fair. That, you know, it's not just the Fieldhouse that people in our community are concerned about. There's other things that are of equal concern. So, but that's not really a question, but I
No,
guess
part of it is I can
that is
answer
what
that.
I'm seeing,
Yeah.
talking to the assessor, is it looks, there's a greater likelihood we'll have less next year than we have today.
Well, and that's, we have talked about that as a board. When we talk about the bond in '83 for the high school, it was paid off in less than 20 years. The reason for that is because we had high years. So the opposite is true too. When assessed valuation goes up above where the lowest point it's been in history, your taxes will be less. If it goes down, there'll be more. So some of you have lived in here longer than I have. What's happened to our community in the last 35 years? It's this cycle. Now that's been basically oil and gas. But I can't imagine, and again, this is my opinion, that our community is going to be less in assessed valuation years to come. We have lots of things to move forward. That will reduce the amount of pressure on individual voters, individual residents. I don't think our board's ever said this is not a vote for the kids. We understand that this will impact some families more than others. Those that are below $150,000, $175,000 homes, we understand that. At the same time, we have an obligation in our mission statement to do the best we can for all of our kids. This does impact all of our kids, it truly does. All I can say is I hope that the idea of our assessed valuation going down is wrong, and that as we get out of this pandemic, it goes up, because we have the potential in this community. We have the infrastructure, we have the schools. I'd like to see it go up. And if that's the case, this is a perfect time to bond.
Brian, can I add to that,
Yeah,
please,
please.
before we go on to the next question? One of the things that was also brought to the board's attention was the fact that and this is through the economic development folks with the city, is we've actually had companies want to relocate into Evanston and come here and bring those values back up. But because we didn't have a full-size soccer field for the kids or something like this for the kids, they chose other locations. So if in fact we have, it's kind of like the Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. That was a big thing for the city economic development people, that if we can in fact bring those businesses in, that will help stimulate and help raise those values, and which means the tax rate goes down. So that's sort of that balance that we're looking at.
Yeah, Carl, I called you on you first.
Thanks, Ryan. I understand this issue because my kids were all involved in, especially soccer and indoor track. And, my daughter got a scholarship to college. My son took the state record in the 440, and he did indoor track. Now, when you look at some of the facilities that we have around here, Casper's got great facility, thanks to Steve Hartman stealing state money. But Gillette, they've got an incredible facility up there, but that doesn't belong to the school. That's a community athletic center where they hold these events. So it is a nice facility, but I also look at the timing of this. While it would be nice to have a facility like this, I think the timing's wrong. This year, with the exception of government employees in the state of Wyoming, including schools, every other person out here has suffered financially this year. Businesses have been closed thanks to measures from the state. People have been laid off. People have been cut back on their employment. I mean, I'll tell you, honestly, this year I'm over $60,000 less. I can't afford a property tax increase. When I bought my house, my property taxes were around $1,000. This year, my property tax bill is over $2,400. I can't afford it. And while this is a nice facility, I think it's better to shelve it now and let's do it when we can afford, when the community can afford it. We can't. And you know, and I don't like that we always go out to these architecture and the development firms. There are commercial companies who make these commercial athletic facilities. My cousin ran a soccer thing down in West Jordan there, and they've got these ready to build buildings that they just put out on these, and they do these fields, and it costs a heck of a lot less than this. And they're every bit as good. They do professional and semi-professional teams practicing this. So I think there's some other options that we can look at, but I don't think this is right time right now for the community. If you talk about companies coming into town, I think more of what they have, you know, I've been talking for the last couple of years with several companies. One of the major trucking companies in the country was looking to come into Wyoming. And because we're talking corporate income tax, we're talking all these different different taxes coming up, they finally said Wyoming's off the table. And it's not because of what we have, because we have a fantastic business environment here for people. We got I-80, we got railheads, we're only an hour away from a major international airport. We have a lot of reasons for companies to come here. But until we settle down on our taxing and we have them where they can feel comfortable what their environment's going to be, that's driven away more of them than the fact that we don't have an indoor soccer field. Again, my kids practiced out there, and they did that, and they did very well. I don't think that is, you know, this is it's a want-to-have, and it's great, and I'd love to see it, but not right now. We can't afford this. The community cannot afford the increase on your property taxes. We got a lot of people, even some that have retired from the schools, that are on fixed incomes, and this could make them lose their house. I don't think this is the right time for it.
Got a whole bunch. Let's start at the back.
You know, yeah, the reason I'm here, I'm probably kind of blowing the full things, but my kids came home with a little flyer, and there was one line on there that said about the cost, but everything else was just how good it's going to be for this, that, and the other. And it kind of, I don't know, it kind of shook me a little bit that they're coming home with this, and then you go tie a ribbon on something and support it. And I didn't have enough information about what to do about it. But seeing that, if you're gonna charge $30 per person to come to this stuff, if I had to drive somewhere and then again pay $30 per person, I have a large family, and I can't afford to do that after the gas and after everything coming through.
No, I think the $30 per person, we don't charge for our events. We're probably one of the only school districts that still doesn't charge for participants and spectators to come in. That's what they spend in the community, $30 to $50 per student in our community. If you've seen after a middle school football game, they park on the triangle out there so they can get Walmart, Murdoch's, Subway, McDonald's, Costa Vida. That's where they go.
And that cost is just that's when they're coming in town.
That's what they will spend in our community.
Because I was confused on that one.
No, that's what they spend.
Yeah, the other part of that is we do charge for some of the for-profit, the
community for example, the Women's Conference. We're a joint sponsor with them, so we don't charge them the full amount. We actually sponsor a percentage by board approval, and they pay basically for our overtime and heat and lights. Remember, if they use our facilities, even though they may have liability insurance, we're still liable for the parking lots. And starting in October to hopefully not May, we have to keep our parking lots and sidewalks clean, so we pay for that. So we share that cost with those who use the facilities.
Okay, so yeah, my question was also about maintenance. You said the 3% and 681,000 allotted maintenance. Is that kind of an annual thing, or is that just kind of through the span of time, or?
You know, based on this study, we feel that 3% is roughly 10 to 15 years of potential maintenance costs. Again, you don't know. We've had some poor luck with the facilities we've had built recently, but maintenance is built into our School Facilities Commission. Because this is seen by School Facilities Commission as an enhancement, we'd be responsible for maintenance. The energy part is paid for by the state. We just have to budget for it and reimburse it. Back there.
So touching on what a couple people said, we are in the middle of a pandemic, and what happens if it gets worse? And then you said 2023, what happens when they shut down school sports or large gatherings again, and then this building just sits empty and collects dust because
We turn it into a large hospital. You know, that's a concern. And I don't know. All we try to do, and you've seen our plan for the future, is we're going to move forward, we're going to educate our kids. A sound education also is co-curricular activities. Many of you, I think, believe that, participated. I don't know what I would have done without
What if it
activities.
just becomes an empty building that costs us money?
At that point, there's a lot more things to worry about than a field house. I understand your question. What'll happen if
You're
it's
saying you
empty?
want to use it for school sports and for a community center, but if the community can't hold events, then what is it for? What is everybody paying raised property taxes for?
That's a hypothetical question I can't answer.
I mean, we look at that at the time, if in fact that happens, obviously we'd be looking at how do we put this, because we want to be able to take advantage of it. And I think it's really difficult to say, at this point, I look at board.
Well, isn't that like exactly the point? It was like, this is not the time to be building a center like that.
But the other what if is, what if that doesn't happen and we do get back to some sense of normalcy and our kids continue to compete academically?
I'm in high
and
school
have-
here, every kid in high
So,
school.
and the one thing I would want to say though,
You know?
that I want to, just point out, that you guys pointed out already, is that what everyone's afraid of is having another downturn, right? So how do we infuse
Thank you for
money
coming.
into our economy? Because that's the struggle that the state of Wyoming's had for the past 30 years. Because we haven't been able to think ahead and plan for the future. And that's no fault of anyone here in Wyoming. You know, I love the state of Wyoming and oil and gas as much as anyone. But the best way to do that is to increase infrastructure. You can bring new jobs, and bring new opportunity to people who want to move to their community. Right now, as you guys know, because of COVID-19, it's teleworking that goes on everywhere across the country. And now, because one thing that we have in the state of Wyoming is real estate. We're getting all kinds of people. My cousin works in real estate. We're moving to the state of Wyoming because we got big wide open states. And what are they going to do when they try to move to these places? They're going to look and say, okay, which town has a facility where I can take my kids? Which town has the best resources for my kids so they stay out of trouble and don't use drugs and don't commit crimes? You know, what are those types of things that sway me to come to Evanston, Wyoming, as opposed to going to Rock Springs, Wyoming, or Cheyenne, or Casper? And this is an opportunity that I think, like I said, you spend that $22 million within the community. That should, by now, in and of itself, help get us up to back one of those up years where you're having people spend money coming in and out of your businesses, and, all those workers and all that type of stuff. You have to be able to infuse money within your economy instead of just walking away your money and hoping that it gets back. You gotta have a plan to build that.
And let me add to that, one of the things that, I don't know if you guys are tracking real estate numbers, but what's happening is exactly right. People are getting out of the cities, they're getting out of the New Yorks and the Californias, and they are buying up land in the west and in the rural areas. and you're seeing a huge influx and demand on the purchase of housing. I mean, right now, there's not a whole lot of housing available in Evanston because it's being snapped up, and that's true with all the surrounding areas. And so, you know, if you have a facility like this, he's right, that's what attracts people to say, better Evanston than somewhere else, and that's part of what this is investing in the infrastructure.
You know, again, I've heard lots of stories through this because we've been to lots of different groups. I heard a story about Riverton versus Casper. Riverton had a chance, probably 35 years ago, to build a multi-purpose event center. Riverton chose not to because of cost and bad timing. Casper built that facility. And I can't imagine, Bubba just showed me a figure, is it $35 million that they lost because of COVID, because of high school activities not being there. Now that's a larger chunk, but we're not asking for $35 million a year for our activities. We're asking enough to sustain this complex, which would easily be done. Yeah.
So you talked about economic impact, and I truly believe that that's true, that I've seen the sporting events, people come into town, they spend their money. What about scheduling conflicts between a for-profit event and a district single game? I mean, you can get a weekend-long tournament with 20 teams or one game. How will you guys evaluate those conflicts on economic impact, or will district take priority?
Most definitely. That's an excellent question, and we really haven't finalized an answer, but this is my perception. So this is just what I see happening. The facilities that I've seen round about us, Vernal, Heber, they have a dedicated individual that just schedules that facility. We would need something similar. And their job would be to, of course, work out a schedule during the school year. Let's just say school events have priorities, but any other time, we need to have that place busy every day. That would be their challenge. Now with that, what's unique about this facility, and we've been pretty vocal about it, this is a standalone facility, which means right now our auditorium at the high school, 185 days of the year, we cannot let that go during the day because we have school. But this facility could be scheduled at any time during the school year and reserved. It would just be coordinating the events there. There are certain times, probably wouldn't, if you had a 14-team volleyball tournament, that may have precedent over something, but that would have to be looked at on a case-for-case basis. It wouldn't be an athletic director, it would be a facility director that would look at this complex. That's how I think essential it is to this community.
I also wanted to add, I actually attended high school at Ventrona County and Gillette, played sports at both places, and moving here as a parent was a hard decision for me. Those facilities are real and they make a real difference. You look at where kids go after high school, the opportunities that they're presented with, and I think it has something to do with the facilities in your town.
Opportunities for kids, exactly what it is.
That's the best way to sustain the economy, to give opportunities and education to the children, because they're the future for them. And the more and honestly, I was telling them right now, I'm a social worker, so I work with these poor families, these poor people, and all these types of things, probably more so than anyone here outside of the school.
Yeah.
And I see firsthand what these people go through, and I have as much concern about that as anyone. But, you know, these children, I've seen them, all they have to do today is vape. All they have to do today is use marijuana. All they have to do today is drink alcohol. There's no opportunity for these kids to, you can shake your head all you want, but I tell you, I do it for a living and I see it. I'm telling you.
They don't have anything to do, why would build the use of it?
Let's go on, Mr. Pence.
One thing that helps deter them.
Let's go on.
My name is Johnny Pence, and I live here in Evanston. I'll speak for everyone in this room. We need an indoor meeting. Not one of us disagree with that. The problem that we have here is it's being called the community field house. And I do understand that this school probably needs a lot of different activities done indoors. We live in a terrible weather area for a lot of our year. Problem is it's being called the community field center, and a lot of kids that I know, because we do support the kids, I'll follow what Bob said, we do support the children. My children, they do play football for the schools and things, They also race motocross. They also do rodeo. And the answer's been made very clear to me that there will not be dirt brought in for these events. Huge numbers of people come to these events. Wild West Nationals, because I was on the board of the Uinta County Motorsports Association, wanted to include Evanston in their series. People have to come to those races. They have to come to those events. If they don't, they lose their points at the end of the year. We're not talking one or two people. I don't know if you've seen Rock Springs facility or how that one functions. Huge numbers of people. I get that we can't be multifaceted. Why don't we just call it the Uinta County School District Fieldhouse? I mean, we'll have a few people come in, but we're cutting out people who are for profit at this point until we can change the way it goes, like you said. That kind of limits us a little bit here on the use of this.
And you're right. The limited use didn't come from the school district. It came from the study we did. Two things they told us we could not afford in a complex this size: dirt and ice. And we've put that out there. Because of the expense to the infrastructure itself, you just can't have dirt in these facilities. We went to all the different options to see what we could afford in this. But when you talk about dirt and ice, the expense goes through the roof.
It does, but a lot of times counties and stuff will provide that dirt. I know from the motocross that we did at the fairgrounds every single year.
It wasn't the dirt, it was the mechanical issues that dirt caused. And that was...
It's true. Well, they have a surplus of dirt that they use. There's just a pile of dirt they use for that. I kind of want to move on. I do have a couple of questions,
Okay.
and I won't bother you with too much. I did wait and listen to a few of the questions so that I could cut down on what I was going to ask. I talk to a lot of people in the community, and I deal with a lot of elderly, disabled, ranchers, etc. And something came to my attention the other night, which was literally 2 nights ago. I had no idea about this. And the fact that the stadium redevelopment came up, I had it put down here as $2.9 million, which came from your statistics off the internet that I pulled off here. You're saying $4 million for that. A lot of people don't agree with that. We're building a field house. You know, we're building a community field house, not a turf field in the football field. I mean, honestly, if we could just drop that $4 million, I would almost even be more on board to pay the taxes. If we could drop that $4 million and drop that overall total price down, a lot of people in the community are pretty concerned about this. The one video that we put up is over 4,000 views, and every single person said they had no idea about that. No idea that was going to go to the football field.
The $4 million is for a turf field.
Well, what I said was $2.9 million is what I said, because it was 2.995, correct? To do the turf and
I don't think we broke that out. I can show you.
It's broke down. I actually had the page. I listed it on the...
you may have the report itself, but that's not... the report itself...
The proposal packet, that's where we got the...
That's the report itself, but it doesn't take into effect when we had to
There was an absolute breakdown. I have it on my phone if you want to...
We have the report, and the report is on our website with all the other documents. My point is the $4 million that you see here that we've shared when we went to $22.7 million is to incorporate the turf soccer field and any changes we have to make to the football field.
Okay, that's why I said 2.9.
That was a huge sticker price, the football field. We just can't do it. You guys may know, some of you played football on it, the football field is offset. It's not in the center of that space. It also has a crown that is unmanageable. We can't play soccer on it because of the crown, and also it's offset. So you have one team that sits on the track and one team that's 15 yards in. So one of the things when we're talking about wants is let's put the football field in the proper location. We can use that area, and potentially let's go with turf. We can't do that, and we've said it all along. Once it got to the 25 million, we don't have the funds for that. What we have to do is we need an artificial turf soccer field. The big part of that isn't the field itself. It's about $1.2 million for a turf field. It's the infrastructure and the parking that goes in to have parking for these facilities. Required, by the way. So that's where that money is. I would love to say, why don't we look at improvement to the football field? That's why it was originally included. We can't afford it. Now, the other thing that we're going to talk about is you have 9 elected individuals that be involved in this from the get-go. If we can save money on the project, I thought $22 million, and these guys know it, I'm thinking we could do this for $12 million, the whole project. I was shocked because of the same study that one of you said. I've been to the facilities in Utah. Schools are built at a different requirement. Once it becomes a school, there are things that make this more expensive. But what I'm hoping, when this passes, is that we can reduce the cost. In other words, if it was padded by the person who did the study, and we can do this for less, we'll do it for less.
One last thing.
Yes.
Like I was saying, another thing here is we talked about the cost and trying to get the cost low, but you know, I've worked in construction. I've seen how a lot of these projects go. They do usually come in over budget. You're aware of that, of course. I know that you guys have to stay within a budget. But when we start talking about this, and Fieldhouse, your comments, not mine, that the seating is not necessarily a high priority, it will become.
You've heard me today. I never said that.
Well, in your statement on
Seating
here,
is not
do you
part
want me
of the
to read
original
that
study.
to you on here? Because like
You're
I said,
welcome
it
to.
showed your wants and your needs personally for this, and one of the can live withouts was
Spectator seating.
spectator viewing areas.
Yeah.
And
Again-
so my question is, though, just real quick, I apologize, because I want everybody else to have a chance as well. When we say that seating is kind of on a lower priority, or spectator viewing areas is on a lower priority, what about the elderly or the disabled or the folks that are in wheelchairs and things? You have to be able to facilitate these folks.
I
Will
wish,
that
I
in the
wish
end
Mr. Pence,
actually?
you've been involved in the discussion from the start, because you would realize one of the purpose of the mezzanine is for our older folks. From the start, we've
To
taken
stand,
those into
to
consideration.
stand.
To walk, to use it.
Yeah, but where do they sit to
can't go
watch
out
the events? So like say if they
On the
come to watch
mezzanine,
the branch,
those events.
will there be seating for
Remember, what I
them?
talked about and what you've taken out of context, again, by the way, is that we never said anything about not having spectators. What we said is in the study, spectators were not considered.
Well, can we live
Also,
without spectator
if-
viewing areas? I didn't take you out of context.
If you-
These are your words, not
If you
mine.
look at other facilities like this, don't have spectator facilities. University of Wyoming's football complex, no spectator seating. You sit around the fields. That is a secondary thing. But our board and this group sees the mezzanine as a priority because of spectators and participant seating.
Well, will there be seating
Said
for
that
disabled
over
and
and over.
elderly folks?
Almost, yes.
There will.
You remember, this is a huge open structure. You look at 3 volleyball courts, 3 basketball courts, how many seats could you sit on those? Movable seats. We could have thousands in this complex. So, if we don't see seating
It depends on the.
for any kind of event,
You can put 'em.
that's the
So
problem with
Your
this.
example with Natrona, right, they bring in temporary seating, the metal bleachers, depending on what type of event.
Yeah, because if you're doing soccer, it has to be
Right.
different from
That will
track.
be part of the design
So
process.
that's the idea of
But was it
permanent
included in the
seating.
cost, though, is what I'm asking, with the seating? If you do have to put in additional seating
It's
for elderly
probably
or
included in
handicapped.
that equipment, FF&E.
$6 million, that's the FF in it.
We think that's a lot.
The $6 million is gonna be part of the
FF&E,
inclusion of the
that's
seating
equipment,
and stuff like
yes.
that? Okay. All right, that's all my questions, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One of the line items was permits and fees, 2.7 million. Why is that so high?
I have no idea. We've had that discussion. We think that's high. All I took was the information that was there and added them together. It's frustrating building this from Evanston Middle School, the cost of those fees. They're extreme. And again, schools sometimes have a little higher responsibility because of the safety requirements and the level they're built to. I think 6 million is high. But at the same time, I'm not going to take a risk and say, no, it's only 4 million. We're going to put in what they said it would be.
So is an environmental impact study required for this?
I imagine, yes.
And is this I think you said this was a non-regulation soccer field? If it is that gonna deter from getting state tournaments in here?
The turf field is a regulation-sized soccer field. Inside the facility is not regulation. Most of these facilities aren't regulation indoor soccer, just like it's not indoor baseball. They're just too costly when you get to that size. But there'll be turf And so what I've seen is the goals run opposite, almost like a basketball court or volleyball court, and therefore youth. The other part of that is the location of this facility with the soccer field would allow spectators and participants a place to go in inclement weather. And it wouldn't be able to compete in those facilities, but we're talking a lot more money than that. But that's why this is a priority in terms of a regulation, artificial turf, soccer field for our community.
Well, there was a couple concepts. It looked like on the north end of the field house was like a large roll-up door compared to another picture of a concept that just had windows. What's the idea behind the huge door?
Well, the thought is, and we've had a lot of different discussions. We actually saw plans that it was like a aircraft hangar door, so you open up the whole backside to the soccer field, so you could come and go use the facilities. The large doors would be to move equipment in and out, including the turf surface, the basketball courts, volleyball nets. Again, the cost of this is in the width, the span. Any outbuildings, I'll call them, they're relatively less expensive. So storage facilities on the width of these would be a lot easier to manage. Getting things in and out, you'd want to, I actually would like the whole end to be doors, so you could open them up to the soccer complex. But that's just one person's light. What happens into design, who knows? All these facilities that I've ever seen have access via a large garage door. Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't think you were that far off about it becoming a field hospital. But, you know, God prevent that.
Yeah.
But my just kind of a side comment is, did y'all even look at Mueller Steel Fabrication? Because they do facilities like this, and pretty much they've got a catalog, and you just thumb through it and pick out what you want.
We definitely will, and that's why I think, like I said, I thought 12 million is a lot, but that's what the study showed. We did have those discussions. This truly is just a large metal building. Why 12 million? Well, again, some of it's the restrictions or requirements of the school, and I think we'll find that out once we do get to design. But this is a large facility. If you've seen facilities like these are large. And the heating and cooling capacity, and I wouldn't say cooling, probably just airflow systems are expensive.
Yeah. Or two big doors.
Yeah. Yeah, one door at each end to just have the wind blow through.
Here we are.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask the question about your plan for ongoing maintenance to the turf fields and the replacement costs that come with that. Typically, about every 10 years, it's about $500,000 to replace the carpet on a turf field.
10 to 12 years is what they say the lifetime is, but every one that I've known is much less than that. Natrona, they replaced those before a 10-year period of time. They added another one because of the wear and tear on their field. Rock Springs just replaced their turf field. It hasn't been 10 years. We're worried about that too. That's why there's $600,000 that sits there. We'll have to prepare for it, just like every other community. If you think turf fields, why we don't have them, they are expensive to maintain. But again, in our climate, in our community, Green River, Rock Springs, Kemmer, Star Valley, Farson
Big Pine.
have turf fields. Big Piney, and they're nice. But I always worry what's going to happen in, I think 6 to 8 is more of a replacement. I think a smart district would start putting money away in reserve for that.
So, just to clarify, so your plan is to start putting away money for that, or you don't have a plan quite yet, or you're
We would
working
make
on it?
plans.
Okay, thank you.
Most definitely. I think it would have to be built into the expense if someone uses that on the outside. That's where those funds would go.
Thank you.
Again, hopefully, you can see that a turf field in our community would be used, and we want it to be used. That's how they get worn out. Who hasn't asked a question right here?
Yeah, the assessed valuation you're using now is from last year. Okay, we know this year the economy has just taken a dump. I mean, I'm one of the unfortunate people that actually own an oil and gas business here in town.
Okay, my revenue is down about 120,000 per month right now. So it's that big of an impact. I mean, I've had to lay off 3/4 of my employees. Right now, the money is not here. Our valuation next year should be going down. It almost has to. The businesses here can't afford it. And you attack this on now with the valuation going down, it's gonna be even more. I mean, businesses are struggling in this town. And as a homeowner and a business owner, I get hit double there, you know, and a lot of other people. It's just not the time to do this. And the future's too uncertain.
Yeah, and my only response to that in terms of the future is the most recent Craig report came in better than anticipated. And the Craig report is the estimate of oil and gas production and coal.
Yeah. And look at what's really going on. Look at reality, not some of these false reports you read all the time. Sorry, I can't agree with that.
Well,
you
the
know?
Craig report is what our legislators use to fund schools. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, another one. Do we know, did that mileage tax pass?
I don't think anything's passed yet.
Okay, and, you know, the word's going around that they're also looking at initiating a state income tax.
There are a lot of rumors about what the legislature
Is that a rumor?
Yeah, legislation right here. We have representation
It's not passed.
here.
Yes, please.
There's a whole litany list.
Senator Schuler would like to answer
I'll
that.
give you a couple little updates if I can. I'm glad you brought up the Craig report because, but before I talk about the Craig report, I just want to talk a little bit briefly because I coached track for a lot of years. We probably were, I think I was at it 30 plus. So as a track coach, yeah, our kids can keep shoveling snow, they can keep going out there in the cold, they can keep pulling muscles, they can keep getting hurt, they can keep being, you know, the last kids in the state to get on a soccer field. We can keep doing what we've been doing, and we're just gonna end up where we've been. And we'll still have some state champs, we still have some folks that will do good. But I look at this as an economic driver, and we need more of that in our state because of oil and gas, and because of a lot of things that happen with coal and so on and so forth. So I know how much our kids, high school kids would take that, you know, middle school kids maybe take a $20 bill. High school kids would take 40 or 50, 60, sometimes $100 bill. I'd see high school kids on a $100 bill and I wish I had that much money on a track trip or a basketball trip or whatever. So, you know, they have money, they'll go spend it in other communities, just like, you know, there are communities that are having soccer tournaments and track meets and so on and so forth. We're lucky to have one track meet here a year, and it's because of the weather, it's because of our facilities, and so on and so forth. So we can just keep doing what we've been doing, and I don't want to pay any higher taxes. Anybody, you know, anybody in this room probably does. But folks, it's going to happen already. Our property taxes are already going up a little bit. We probably noticed tax things when they come out, and that's probably because we have people moving in, and the people who are moving in, I had one lady tell me the other day that the house across the street from her had been resold 4 times. And each time it got resold, it got sold for more. That's why your property taxes are going up. So they're gonna go up a little bit anyway, but I just wanna say one last thing. The Craig report, which is very accurate for the most part, we're overperforming better than we thought we would. Our sales and use taxes are up. We didn't think they would be, you know, after COVID and all of that. We could sit here and go gloom and doom, but things are a little bit better. The state was looking at a 1.5 billion deficit. Now it's only about 750 million. So we need economic drivers. We need things besides oil and gas and coal. So we've got to start looking at things like this. This will help our community. I know it would be tough on some of our seniors. Those are the people I worry the most about. But I think about $10 a day, you know, a month. I spend $10 a day in Diet Pepsi. You know, so.
Hey, can I ask a question, Michelle?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Because you know more about this than us, and I'm just kind of curious. What new taxes are being proposed, state of Wyoming-wise, for us? Haven't passed, maybe, or just kind of being talked about?
Yeah, I was going to get to that. As Bob mentioned, you know, that, yeah, we will have to start looking at more taxes. I don't ever see an income tax ever happen. You know, Bob might disagree with me, but I just don't see there's an appetite for that. We're one of only 4 states that don't have an income tax. We have no corporate tax. You know, our taxes, we are so blessed in Wyoming, we don't realize how blessed we are. And I think that's the problem, is we've done for so many years and we haven't had to pay our fair share. An average family of 4 pays about $3,000 a year in taxes. That includes everything. They get about $30,000 worth, and I'm just rounding it up, about $30,000 worth of services. that includes your police, your roads, your water, your this, your that,
That's
whatever.
false information.
That's,
from the-
I rounded
from
it
the
up, but that's pretty darn
taxpayers.
close, that's pretty, about as close as I can get it. I can go 27,516 if that'll help, but I'm just saying, I'm gonna round it up and say that's about what it is. So, the bottom line is, we've been very blessed, and I don't think we've been spoiled, we've been blessed. And I think we're at that point where we may have to just start picking up a little bit. I don't see some of these taxes as going through because we don't have an appetite at the state level for a lot of them. But the only thing that we're not the lowest in the nation for, we're the lowest tax state in the nation except for property taxes. Property taxes, we're still in the bottom tier. I think we're 38 or 40, something like that. But everything else, look at our beer tax, 2 cents per gallon. Utah charges 41 cents per gallon. The next closest state's 8 cents per gallon. Cigarette taxes were the lowest. Liquor taxes were the lowest. We could just keep going on and on. But we may have to just pick it up a little bit in order to get not only continue with people moving here and maybe stimulating our economy and thinking outside the box and trying to get some projects. And I think this is, I applaud our board for doing this. There's never a good time. There wasn't a good time when we did it back when we outgrew the high school. We were over EMS. And, we were on top of each other. We had to have a high school. And the people here in Evanston stepped up the community and they said, let's do it, let's bond. We have one of the nicest high schools in the state. We've maintained it, done a great job with it. And I think this project is worth taking a look at. It might not go. And we can just keep doing what we're doing, but I'd sure like to see it. I don't know if that's...
We had all the industry here. We had Amoco. We had all the boom going on. They helped build all those high schools
Well,
and
not the high school.
schools and the swimming pools. Okay, we don't have that anymore. We don't have any kind of industry here. You talk about what we need. We need industry. We need jobs.
Yeah, we actually
and then we talk about a field house. Okay.
I'm not saying this is a good time.
This is.
I'm not saying, I'm saying there's never a good time.
I also want to ask this question.
There are 2 new businesses coming to town, I might add.
The city of Evanston has done
They're
their
moving
job.
here, and we recruited them, and
Yeah,
I think one of them's an aluminum company, the other one is a company that makes PPEs, personal protection units, and so we do have some people that are working hard in our cities and counties, trying to get some businesses here.
What is our population right now?
We're less than 13,000, 12.
What was our population back in 1980?
I don't know, I'd have to go back and.
I think we're about the same.
We are been the same for the last 25 years.
We got up to about 15, and that
We
might be.
go up, we come back down, because people leave, because there's no jobs.
Well, gas and oil is tough all over the state.
We don't have any jobs. We need industry. We need manufacturing coming to Evanston.
These 2 companies
We
are
have all these.
manufacturing companies.
We have, how many jobs are they going to give us?
One of them's 75, and the other one, I think, could be over 100 jobs.
We need more like 1,300 or
and they just
1,400 jobs. We need a cold storage. We need all kinds of different things
But we still have
before
to
we
have,
start talking about building a facility like this.
we still have to have people, and that's what sometimes when they were talking about earlier about companies coming in and taking a look, we do have to have a workforce. And so that's why, little by little, I think we're getting some things happening, but we do have to have the workforce here to be able to do that. They do a market study, that's why we lost the Microsoft data center, they went to Cheyenne. We didn't have enough of a workforce. So we do want people to move here, we do want people to build here, we want to have these kinds of nice enhancements. So I just hope you all vote for it.
Yeah, but if we can afford to live here.
The impact on this is going to be higher cost to us with the little income coming back off of, take way too long for it to recoup. I mean, what you're talking for the economic impact is nothing. Not compared to what it's costing the local people, the local businesses here to pay. It's just, I'm sorry, it's not the right time. I know I keep saying it that way, but right now is one of the worst times it could be.
Mr. Allred, then we need to close up.
Okay, but Ryan, I think I just want to make sure I heard you right, because I know in the past we had a problem with their flawed algorithm for maintenance on facilities. They say we have too much square footage and we'd have to shut some stuff down. This is going to be a standalone, and that's not going to figure into the square footage that the state says we have too much of.
No, that's a great question. That's why we actually put that 3% set aside. right now, we receive maintenance funds to maintain our facilities, but we don't receive maintenance funds for 100% of our square footages. And I do believe it's flawed. We don't receive maintenance, major maintenance, believe this, for our pools. We have 2 pools, and they're expensive. And we use 10% of our major maintenance money to maintain those pools. And the square footage at the high school, they say, is too big. Again, the high school was built for 1,000 kids. I would say probably in terms of being too big, it's not too big for our community. Those are issues that we deal with every year, and we maintain our facilities at a very high level. We get about $2 million of major maintenance money that maintains all our facilities. We add another $600,000 from district funds to support major maintenance. And like I said, we know these buildings will last us for 50 years. They have to. And we maintain them at a very high level. And I think our community is proud of our facilities. So with that, just to add, as we said really from the beginning, is this is a choice. We see this as a need for our students. 3 distinct needs. And it's a choice. We see this as an investment in our students and in our students' future. I think it's an investment in our community. We understand that this will cost money. Our community, I hope, steps up like other communities have and approve this bond for the purpose of supporting our community and our students. An investment into our students is an investment into the future. And that's the position our board has taken. And this is an investment for really the next 50 years that does cost us some money. So again, I appreciate your willingness to at least have a discussion. Hopefully you'll look at this, go through the numbers. You're always welcome to call me. We've had an open door. We've put everything on Facebook that we have. There is nothing shady about what the board has done. This is a commitment to our kids. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it very much. Don't hesitate to come up and ask questions. There's some other individuals out there that can answer them too. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Joe, you still haven't shut us off. John, I'm going to move back. I agree. I don't think it's even that. But it's the road tax is what I was talking
Yeah, I agree. I agree because it would generate revenue, and that's, I love the Fieldhouse and all that, but I just wish it would have been a penny tax. I mean, because we could have made Utah, Colorado, and everybody else share the cost on this. We know the Valley would probably say no, I'm sure, because they want the same stuff, but at the same time, I just wish that's what it would have been.